Hello, my name is Adam, and welcome to the Lead Realm. Thank you for joining me on my journey to paint the models of my youth. This channel is both a diary of my progress and also my way of documenting my painting process. Today, we're going to be painting some ghouls. Here I have a unit of 20 ghouls from the Undead range, a mix of two different releases. Some are the smaller and more gaunt looking ghouls from the early 5th edition of Warhammer Fantasy, and others are the slightly larger ghouls that were released, I believe, in the early 6th edition. These ones are more muscular and contain a variety of different larger weapons such as huge skulls, bones, skulls on sticks, and even some rocks. Now, I wanted to try and keep the colours consistent within the rest of my army. For those of you that have been following along with this project from the start, you'll know that I use purple as an accent colour, specifically Phoenician purple. So, I thought I would try and make the skin using this Decalia lilac colour. Maybe using a little bit of this croak green as a shade in the recesses. I start by adding the lilac across all of the skin of the ghouls. 2 thin coats is enough to get a nice opaque coverage across the entire model. Since these models are mostly skin, I wanted to ensure that the skin had some visual interest and wasn't too boring or plain to look at. Once the lilac is dry, I go back in and cover the entire model, or at least all of the skin, with the croak green contrast. This turns the lilac into a sort of purpley grey colour, which I think looks rather dead and morbid. Once this layer is dry, I go back in with the purple, mixing in a little bit of Rakarth flesh, which again desaturates that lilac and is consistent with the other highlights I've used across the army. I highlight up as usual, hitting the top surfaces of the model, leaving that green in the recesses for shadow. I gradually add more white into the lilac and flesh mix till eventually I'm highlighting with almost pure white. As usual, the brightest highlights are restricted to just the areas where I want to draw the viewer's attention. So the face, the hands holding the weapon, and any prominent areas on the front or tops of the models. All of the bone, teeth, and claws are painted in the same way as I've painted the rest of this army. Again, my hope is to draw visual similarities between each of the units in the army, despite the varied materials and themes. I understand that this is quite different to the 5th edition style, where each unit would look very unique. I've talked before about how I don't really paint my models in an era-appropriate style, but I still have great respect and fond nostalgia for that painting style. A lot of people don't enjoy batch painting, and I can certainly understand the desire to spend more time with each model, or to focus on the interesting parts of an army, like the characters. Personally, I get a lot of satisfaction from seeing a unit come together, and I tend to paint in groups of around 10 models at a time, repeating the same step across each model before going back to the first one to start something new. This way, by the time I've looped back around to the first model, the paint has dried and I can continue. It also helps me to have a consistent look across an entire unit. I would be happy to talk more about my batch painting style and my approach to building armies if this is something that people would be interested in hearing about. I have a lot of opinions about modern Warhammer and modern models in general, so please do let me know if this is something that you would like me to discuss in a future video. I appreciate, however, that there are many better painters out there than me that are tackling those topics. So, I'm also quite happy to just carry on doing what I do, painting how I enjoy, and painting the models that I love. Here we are at the midpoint. At the start, I was a little concerned that the purple and green combination might be a little bit overwhelming, but actually, I think it's looking quite subtle when viewed at a distance like this. Plus, I think these models are starting to come together as a unit and really look distinctive, certainly different from anything else in the army so far. Here, I'm using the same cloth recipe as established when painting my zombies. In my mind, these are the sorts of tattered clothes that most peasants in the Warhammer world wear. I figure that coloured dyes are a rare commodity and not something that your average person is going to have access to, which is what the ranks of the zombies, ghouls, and certainly lower skeletons are going to be made of. Now it's time to add some details. The rocks were painted in the same way as the basing for the army. This is to make them seem as though they've been picked up from the battlefield, ready to be hurled at the enemy. A few of the ghouls have fur instead of cloth. These are again painted in the same way as I've been painting the leather and the wood for the rest of the army. I apply this same process to a few other details, such as necklaces and a couple of them who have hairy backs, as well as a few of the weapons. Any eyes are picked out with white, and since these models are technically living humans, I decided to add black pupils, although my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, so these could certainly be better. A few of the ghouls are sticking their tongues out, presumably at the enemy to enrage them. These are picked out with corn red and highlighted up to a pink by mixing in a little bit of white. The final step was only on a couple of the ghouls who have a metal belt type thing holding up their underpants. This was painted in the same rough, non-metallic metal as the rest of my undead army. As always, the final step is to complete the bases. A few of these models already had their sand applied from a previous owner, so I left them as they were and focused on the others. I followed the same steps that I've shown a few times now and finish it all with black rims. As these models are metal, they received my usual 2 coats of gloss varnish and 1 of ultramatte. Once that was dry, I added some grass tufts, and we're done. And here is our completed unit of 20 ghouls. I really like the skin tone that I managed to get here. To my eye, it feels pallid and diseased and different enough from the rest of the army to stand out, but by using the same tones and colours, they feel cohesive. For those of you that aren't aware, ghouls represent one of the few alive units in the undead army, so having them visually stand out from the rest of the force highlights their unique place in the army. But now, let's get this unit into the cabinet with the rest of the army. We are very close to the end of this project now, so my thoughts are turning to what's next. I have a few different options, and I would love to get some feedback on what you would like to see next. Perhaps I will do a video diving through my pile of potential and create a poll to gather opinions. But for now, it's time for me to say thank you for joining me in this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching me paint these gangly ghouls. Do you think I've managed to make these models stand out but still feel cohesive with the rest of the army? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But until next time, stay old school and long live the lead.